Hey everyone, Becky here, coming at you with recipe number 2 for my 2019 recipe project. So as a reminder, I'm just cooking my way through my family's cookbook. Some recipes passed down from generations, some of these recipes are from my father's restaurant, but my whole kind of idea is to show you how you can take really indulgent recipes that are maybe just used for special occasions, or maybe they're used in your regular life and you're not seeing those healthy results that you want, and just tweaking them slightly so that they can be in your life on a more regular basis without you feeling like you're off track or kind of offsetting whatever your health goals are. So, as I remind you with each video, these aren't about being perfect or perfectly healthy or perfectly clean. It's just about making small, really easy tweaks to make them healthier so you can enjoy them more often. So, today I'm making kind of just a Sunday afternoon sandwich. We used to make these at home all the time, and then I remember specifically, I don't remember where we were exactly or why, but I made these for my whole group of friends in high school, and we felt pretty fancy, but it was fun nonetheless. So they're chicken and brie on French bread sandwiches. There's not a whole lot of tweaks I'm gonna make here, but I'm just gonna walk you through it so that you can see how this is something that you can kind of enjoy every weekend if you want to, or every day for lunch, which is what we're gonna be doing this week, without kind of feeling like you're falling off track. So let's get started. I have here in my hand the original recipe. I'm just gonna read the ingredients. I'll list these out in the blog, so don't worry about writing them down, but you need chicken breast, onion, sugar, salt, pepper, garlic powder, a mustard marinade, 6 slices of brie, butter, and a loaf of French bread. Not much of this is changing, but let me show you what I'm gonna do instead. So obviously the chicken's remaining the same. I just went an all natural route. It's already been trimmed, all the fat's cut off, really kind of easy to do. I got this at Trader Joe's. Rather than using the sugar that's in this, I'm just going to marinate the chicken in this Dijon mustard. It kind of just ups the health factor, and this will make it a little bit spicy rather than sweet, which I happen to like, but this is really good. Again, obviously got this at Trader Joe's. The sandwiches have apples on them. Don't need to tweak an apple, perfect as is. The onion we're going to caramelize. I'm gonna show you how to do this without the sugar, and you'll still be able to get that sweet flavor, so that's gonna be really key here. And then the brie that I got is just a lighter brie, so it has some of the fat removed. So instead of 9 grams of fat per serving, it goes down to 4.5. You're not gonna be using a ton of cheese in the recipe, so if you wanna use your favorite full fat brie, you can. But this is just a really small tweak that you won't really notice in the sandwich, so that's what I went ahead and grabbed. And then to add some more greens to the sandwich to kind of beef it up in a really healthy way, I just grabbed some baby arugula. This adds a little bit of a peppery taste, a little spice, one of my favorite greens to work with for sure. And then, rather than a standard French baguette, I grabbed this grain and seed bread from Trader Joe's. I'm actually going to make this sandwich open-faced, so you're gonna use less bread, less carbs. Carbs are not the enemy. I'm gonna say that a lot in this video. But this bread has some extra fiber added to it, which is just gonna be better for your body. So I'm starting with the chicken here. I don't know if you can see it really well here in the bowl. I just seasoned the chicken breast with a little bit of sea salt, black pepper, and garlic powder on both sides. Put it in the bowl, and now all I'm gonna do is pour this Dijon mustard into the bowl and kind of let the chicken sit. I should probably have grabbed a spoon. I'm gonna let the chicken sit. I do need a spoon. Here we go. Hold on. Okay, back in action. Grab a spoon. I'm gonna mix the chicken with this mustard. If you want to, and actually I am going to, I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh honey so that you can cut the spice a little bit with sweetness. You don't have to do this. The original recipe does have kind of a honey mustard involved, so this will kind of take that to that level, add a little bit of sweetness. But since this is an all natural honey, that's actually from the farmer's market here, it doesn't have any like added stuff. It's as natural as it gets. And I'm gonna mix the chicken and let it sit in this little homemade marinade while I prep everything else. So you can let it sit for a couple of hours. It'll really soak that in, but I'm trying to get eating, so I'm not gonna let it sit for that long. But let's see if I can move this here for you. Oh, my handle blocked it. Not a pro filmer. So the chicken's just here. I know a lot of people hate to get their hands dirty, but it's just the easiest way. And I'm gonna let it sit in the bowl on the side. Let me place this back. Really technical over here, and move on to the next step. I'm just getting ready to caramelize the onions, and so I'm slicing it, and I gotta be honest, I am not good at this. Actually, Matt and I took a cooking class on our honeymoon in Paris, and we learned how to properly chop an onion, and I was definitely the worst in the whole class. Even my brother has called me out on how slow and terrible I am at this. Sometimes I pretend like I can go really quick and I just like move the knife around and it works, but it's definitely not technical in any way. So that's what I'm doing, super slowly here. We're not professionals, guys, it's fine. All I wanted to do was get thin slices, which I accomplished. This project is not about technical skill, it's about making things healthier and them tasting good, so I'll achieve that. Okay, so for this recipe, the original recipe calls for butter and sugar and onions in a saute pan so that you get that really sweet caramelized taste. I did buy sweet onions, so that takes care of that a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do to just eliminate the sugar and the butter is use coconut oil instead. It has that little bit of sweetness that will help kind of replace what you're missing with the sugar. And we're not trying to avoid fat. It's not that I'm trying to avoid the fat that comes with butter. I just want it to be a healthier source of fat. So coconut oil kind of achieves that goal. So I melted it a little bit in the microwave because it was pretty solid. It's been cold here lately. And now I'm just putting it in a hot pan. I didn't measure it, as you saw, I just dumped it. And once that heats up, I almost added it too early, I'm going to add the onions and let them caramelize. And I'm sure Matt will make an appearance because it's his favorite smell. Just a quick tip, and I learned this probably from my dad, if I'm being honest, but when you're waiting for a pan to be hot enough, not necessarily with onions, especially with meat, this is a really good tip, but it works here as well. When you want it to be like sizzling as soon as the onions or the meat or whatever hits the pan. So you can test that out by just getting some water on your hand and splashing on the pan, and it should make that sizzle sound, and that's how you know the pan is hot enough. So waiting for it to heat up, I'll show you what that sounds like, but I love the smell of coconut oil. Can you hear that? Hopefully you heard that. It made a little sizzling sound, so that means it's hot enough for me to add the onions. Let's see if I can do this without making a mess. I also learned, quick tip, when you're scraping something off your cutting board with a knife, scrape with the back end of the knife so that you don't dull the blade. Fun fact, right? Anyway, so I'm just gonna caramelize these. I'll show you it in 1 second. Over medium-high heat. I did drop an onion. They already smell sweet. So I, last minute, added a little bit of garlic to the onions as well, and someone came in here. Someone stopped watching football to come in here and smell this, so take note. Okay, so while the onions are caramelizing, and you want them to get a little bit browned as well. They're getting there. Hopefully you can hear that sizzle. I love that sound. With the chicken, you can do a few things. There's not a whole lot of difference in any of these. This is just what I'm doing based on how I feel right now. I'm gonna bake it, just so that it's kind of done and out of the way. Plus, it's really cold out and kind of rainy, so I don't feel like going out to the grill, just being totally honest. So I'm gonna bake the chicken. I'm just putting it on a foil-lined baking sheet right now. The oven is preheating to 350. You could bake it, you can grill it, you can cook it in a pan, however you want. It really doesn't matter. So it's just been marinating for a little while. I can show you it on the pan. It doesn't look like anything special, but baking it to me right now is just the easiest route to go, and not for nothing, it's less dishes because I have it on foil, so you can see here. On foil, less dishes for me to clean at the end of this, so win-win, win-win-win. However many win. All right, so I've got the onions finished. I just put them in a bowl here. Not really good lighting. Let's see. It's not really any better, kind of. Anyways, they're browned, they're caramelized, they smell really good. Now with the bread, I'm going to talk about this for a second. Most people, when they want to get healthier, they want to lose weight, they think that they have to eliminate bread and carbs from their diet, and that's just not true. Unless you have a medical reason to not eat bread, like you actually have a gluten allergy, like a doctor told you you had a gluten allergy, you don't just say you do because that's what all the healthy people say. Bread is not the enemy. Carbs are not the enemy. It's just making sure you don't overdo the carbs. So the reason I'm making these open-faced is because with bread like this, even the one I got with 7 grains and all that stuff, they tend to be really dense. And so one piece is plenty in terms of carbohydrates. Not for nothing also, but things like apples and different vegetables also have carbs. So you're still getting carbs from these other things that you're eating, but these super starchy carbs are what you want to kind of limit, not eliminate, but limit how many servings that you have. So here's the options that you have with this. You can have kind of a larger sandwich, whatever you consider, well, not whatever you consider, whatever one slice of bread really equates to in terms of a serving, and do it open face, or you can cut them kind of thinner. So I cut them both. Oh, this one I didn't really cut. Ripping. cut them a little bit thinner and make the actual sandwich. So this is obviously a smaller sandwich, but it's a dense bread, so you're still getting enough servings. I'm gonna do one thin sandwich, one open face sandwich here, so you can kind of see the difference at the end. But what you wanna do with the bread, if you're using a grill, this is even better. You can brush a little bit of coconut oil, or if you want to use butter, that's fine. A little bit of butter on the bread, and then grill it so it gets like those nice char lines. What I'm gonna do, I kept the heat on really low, the same pan that I sauteed the onions in. I'm just going to place the bread in that pan because it's got that coconut oil, it's got a little bit of that onion flavor, and I'm gonna get the bread nice and toasted this way. So I'm gonna turn the camera off so that I can properly slice this bread because I did a pretty poor job and get that going. I'm actually making 3 sandwiches because my friend Laura is visiting. So I've got 2 that will be full sandwiches, 1 that's open-faced, so you can see the difference as we work through it, but you can kind of see that they were grilled and nice and browned here. And the same thing would have happened with butter, but instead I just used the coconut oil. Since I used that for the onions, it'll tie it all together anyway. Over here I've got the apples, really thinly sliced. You can cook them if you want to, same thing, like in coconut oil, but I like to keep them raw and I like to leave the skin on for a couple reasons. One, this will add a nice crunch since everything else is pretty much cooked. The arugula will help with that too. And then I leave the skin on because it's a really good source of fiber and nutrients. So it's fine if you want to peel it. A lot of people don't like to leave it on, but I do, so your call. And then over here, I just have a few slices of that brie. I took the skin off since it's a little bit tough. This will go on at the very end. Right in the oven there. I'm gonna come back here and switch this. Wait, what am I doing? Here we go. Switch this to broil. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? There we go. Broil that on high until the cheese melts, and then we'll do some fresh arugula on top and call it a day. You guys are really getting the real and raw today because I totally forgot to add the onions. So, taking it back out of the oven, removing the cheese. This is just real life stuff right here. I told you I am not a professional chef. So, putting the onions on top of the apples. The order really doesn't matter, you guys. Just don't forget an ingredient like I just did. I'm gonna layer these onions on kind of thick because they're delicious. Now that those are back under the broiler, when you're doing a full sandwich, so not open-faced, if you want to, what you can do is build the whole sandwich, put everything on top, put the top slice of bread, and then grill it on both sides until you get that nice kind of charring on the outside of each side of the bread, and then also the cheese is obviously melted down the front. Also, while you're waiting, what you should really do is take a leftover slice of apple and a leftover piece of brie and have a snack. Added fresh arugula on both, the top piece of bread here, and we are good to go. Go for it. Beer and a sandwich and football. The standard noise of approval. Pete, it's not for you. That's that. I have to go eat mine too. For those of you who are working with me in my virtual boot camp and following that kind of portion fix system that I've been teaching you, this sandwich, if you have it open face, is a yellow, a red, I wouldn't even worry about counting the purple, a green, and a blue. That's it. If you're not working with me and you're looking for some help in nutritional coaching, or you're not really sure how to start, you can comment on this video, you can reach out to me directly. I'm always here to help answer any questions that you might have. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Until next time, eat up.